We've done this before the other way. Like, what did you find out about a parent or grandparent years later that rocked the family? But how about finding out something later in life that this one particular family member never mentioned, didn't brag about or anything for whatever reason, and you found out later in life or after they passed away? 1-855-BERT Show.
Yeah, so for me, it was funny because my dad is a very under the radar guy. Like he'll never brag on himself. He doesn't like the attention on himself. That's just not his thing. So I got a call from my mom basically saying, hey, your dad is being honored for some work that he did for the Denver Police Department, and I want you to surprise him. I want you to show up, like the whole family's going to be there. And she's giving me like this like long rundown, like that's hard for me to do. I'm like, Mom, you don't have to convince me. Like the family's going to be there. My dad's being honored. That's enough. I'll be there. So I show up thinking it's like something small. It's not like a really big deal, but if they're honoring my dad, I'll be there. So then when I get there and I realize like, all of these really important people from the city and from the police department are there, and like they're showing videos of all of the things that these men have done, and the event is literally about honoring our heroes and them risking their lives to save the community. I'm starting to feel like, okay, what exactly is my dad being honored for? And then like they start telling his story, and it turns out that he was off duty one day, just driving in his truck, and he happens to drive past a security guard who is armed and has his weapon drawn on another guy whom he doesn't know what's going on. But then that guy pulls out his weapon, and they both have their guns pointed at each other. So my dad gets out the car, draws his weapon, and then starts to talk these two men off the ledge, trying to figure out what's going on.
And your dad's off duty at this point.
He's off duty. This man was on his way to get a burrito or something. Like, he just was minding his business, and he ends up in the middle of this, and somehow he gets the criminal, the bad guy, to put his gun down. But then that guy takes off. So then my dad chases him because he's now running with a weapon, like, around the community. So my dad chases the guy, catches him, gets him to put his weapon down. It led to an unfortunate ending of which they had to get snipers on the roof because this guy was now threatening to just start shooting random people. So my dad is like, we got to set up a perimeter. And they did. And this is all playing out like an episode of 24 for me. Like, my dad is Jack Bauer. I'm like, this is crazy. And then eventually the guy pulls the weapon on an innocent party. And so the snipers had to take him down, and they did. And so my dad was just out here like saving lives on his day off. And I look at my dad like, yo, you ain't think to run this one by me, bro? You didn't think this was a good story to tell?
Dang, so you had no idea why you were there, and that was the reason.
That was the reason. I had no clue whatsoever.
So, and he told you right before the ceremony, right?
Yeah.
So imagine if you had been at the ceremony sitting there hearing all of this for the first time, because did they go over the details of why they were being awarded?
So they did, and that's the funnier part is he did tell me, but he gave me like a sports center version.
A watered down version.
Yes, when they told the full story, I was like, what? This is like heroic. This is amazing. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, they're going to give me a medal. It's pretty cool. Like, all right, man, but that's just his personality.
All right, so these stories can go both ways, because when we ask, like, tell us what you found out later in life that was bad, we get a ton of calls. But how about the good stuff, right? 1-855-BERT Show. My grandfather, my dad had never done anything except talk crap about his dad, about how bad a dude he was, which made sense to me because my dad was a bad dude, and he learned it from his father. And then when my grandfather passed away, he took me to his hometown, and he said, oh, yeah, I got to show you something. And then the town had built like a plaque and a mini statue for my grandfather because he helped out so much in the community.
Wow.
I'm like, what? What? I haven't even liked this guy because you told me not to like this guy. He turned out to be a great dude.
And he's like a pillar of the community.
Pillar of the community.
With a statue.
No idea.
Everybody don't get a statue. Right. That's awesome. Yeah.
He's a little man. He's a little statue. Like a Little League trophy. Hey, Jamie, good morning. You're on the Bert Show. The good stuff you found out later.
Good morning, guys. Hey, I just want to say I've been living in Atlanta for 15 years, and I've been listening to you the whole time, and I love you so much.
Thank you. Heart hands.
So this is crazy. My dad, this was a number of years ago now, had just had a surgery, and he's still half under anesthesia. This is a couple hours later. I'm bedside talking to him, and he's telling me what he thinks is a funny story, and sort of through the details lets it slip that he and my mom had a baby before me, a half brother that I never knew about. They gave up for adoption, and it was just, I don't think he really intended to let the rest of the story go, but there was no way out of it. I think he realized he was so out of it, there was no way to lie his way out of the story well. And so I have a half brother that I was in my mid-30s by the time I found this out.
That heavy sigh says it all, girl.
Heavy sigh.
It's a lot of information to take in.
Jennifer, good morning. You're on the Bert Show.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My dad was a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, and unfortunately, he passed away in 2018. And when we were cleaning out all of his belongings, we actually found out he was honored with a Bronze Star, which is super cool. They don't give a lot of those out. And the funny thing is, our family, we have never found out exactly why he received this Bronze Star.
Oh.
And did you guys try to do the research on it and never could figure it out?
A little bit, but, we have looked through his paperwork to see if we could find a letter that told exactly why it happened. But, no, we haven't been able to figure out why he was honored with it.
God, I feel like there's got to be a way we can help you get to that info. Now you got me really intrigued.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm sorry for your loss, by the way, and grateful for his service. My dad had a Bronze Star.
So much.
You're so welcome. Pops had a Bronze Star as well. But it took him. And I distinctly remember it was like Vietnam is after you serve and you get back, all that goes into a box and gets filed away, and you never open that box again, right? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until we took a family vacation to Hawaii when I was 17, and we went on a helicopter ride, and the helicopter pilot served in the same unit as my dad in Vietnam. So they weren't there at the same time. They just barely missed each other, but they knew of the same people, the dog Frisbee that was there as well. Like they had all these. So our entire helicopter tour, instead of being like, ooh, look at this waterfall, it's my dad and this pilot talking about their time in Vietnam, which we had never heard. And that opened the box for him to start sharing some of the stories. And then that's how we learned how he ended up getting his Bronze Star, which is like the most incredible freaking story I've ever heard in my entire life.
Wow.
Hey, Sam, good morning. You're on the Bert Show.
Morning, guy, and girl.
Thanks. Yeah.
Sorry. And thank you, Kristen. I'm not sure if you had a hand in it, but I finally got my Harry Potter ticket.
Oh, you did good. Yeah, I did have a hand. You're welcome.
Did somebody DM you? You didn't get your tickets or something?
It was an email.
Okay.
But so growing up, I always thought that my grandpa was just a simple man, retired as a USPS mail carrier. Come to find out, after he passed, he played football for the Navy football team, was an NFL referee, and had this whole crazy life that I never knew about. And it was just crazy. I wish I'd gotten to hear his stories from him. But, crazy thinking that, mail carrier and just had this crazy life and all these great experiences that I just...
Wish you would have known.
Wish I could have heard stories from you.
I think it's more common now to know the stories of people on your family tree. But when you found out a story like your dad's right there, dude's walking around like a hero, never even mentioned it.
And that's one of, I don't know how many stories where you probably haven't even told me. I think we need our heroes to be a little less humble, okay? we need to know these stories.
It's the Bert Show.
The Bert Show.
Like what you just watched? Well, you can get way more of The Bert Show on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.